Yeah, I would like to welcome everyone to the Benzie Chamber Quarterly Business Enrichment Program, Make It Benzie, or Making Benzie Better. I'm Michelle Barefoot, the Executive Director of the Benzie Area Chamber of Commerce. In this series, we have covered topics like health and wellness, childcare, workforce, broadband, natural resources, and more. Today, we are delving into workforce housing initiatives in Benzie. Living in a destination region with a robust tourism economy, it's a reality that we live where most people vacation. Since the COVID pandemic, the appeal to live and play while working remotely has become very popular. The desire to live in our region has become overwhelming, which has driven the cost of housing outside the means of most of our workforce. Many local businesses have had to scale back services and operating hours simply because they do not have the staff to fulfill their needs, especially in the busy summer season. We have invited some key stakeholders in housing, as well as leaders that work every day to foster residential developments in our area. Just a few housekeeping notes. Everyone is set to mute. As far as our attendees go, we will have an open Q&A at the conclusion of the program. If you wish to ask a question, you may do so in the chat at any time, or you may raise your hands during the Q&A session. First up, we will have Glenn Tracy, the president of Habitat for Humanity of Benzie County, to share about their progress on recent home builds in the county and their mission to help those with home ownership. Welcome, Glenn.
Thank you, Michelle. Can you guys hear me okay? Great, glad to. Thanks for the opportunity to spend some time with everyone this afternoon. I'm the president of the board of directors of Habitat for Humanity of Benzie County. We've been in the home building business in Benzie County since 2008, when Habitat for Humanity, Grand Traverse, spun off Benzie Habitat so that we could concentrate directly and exclusively on what's going on in just Benzie County. And Grand Traverse Habitat spans 3 other counties. So we've been doing business here since, like I say, since 2008. The past couple of years have been a change for us, in that we've kicked up our capacity to build homes in the area. And at this point in time, we currently have, in 2023, we're on our 4th home for the year. We closed one on June 28th. We have 2 homes, and these are all in Thompsonville, by the way. We have 2 homes that we are in the process of completing in Thompsonville. Hopefully they'll be done by the end of the year. We're waiting for permanent power hookups at this point in time from Cherryland Electric. And we are also, we were a little bit delayed on one of the homes because our siding supplier couldn't deliver siding, and we just got it in yesterday. Hopefully we'll be able to get that house sided up. We're completing the interiors on the homes. So we're looking forward to getting those taken care of. And we are also in the process of completing our permitting on another lot in Thompsonville, and with the intention of putting a foundation in before the end of the year. And that will allow us to hit the ground running come spring and start to frame that home. We are also working with the land bank at this time, and we are in the process of taking possession of a number of parcels there that would allow us the capacity to probably add 6 or so homes again in Thompsonville. And we have a good relationship with the land bank, and it's something that is very valuable to us. All of our homes are 3-bedroom, 1-bath homes. All homes made or manufactured by Benzie Habitat at this time are Energy Star compliant, which means that they are highly energy efficient. And these homes all sell in the neighborhood of about $150,000. And as hopefully most people understand, all of our recipients are required to fulfill a 200 hours of sweat equity. In the past, all of our sweat equity was supposedly supposed to be done on site, but we're finding with the work environment where people are working 2 jobs, things like that, it gets very difficult for people to get on a build site and put in 200 hours of sweat equity. So we've changed that in the last couple of years, and we are allowing people to fulfill their their sweat equity as community support. And we have partner families working, doing volunteer work at Bacon. They're also doing, they've done work at the Munson facilities. So, we're trying to adjust with the times and make it easier for people to fulfill that commitment. We think that's been a positive step forward in terms of our getting applicants and good partner families. Next year we look forward to doing probably another 4 homes. The house that we will be putting a foundation in at this point in time, we have applicants for. The 2 homes that we are finishing. We already those are committed. And the homes that hopefully the 3 or 4 more we will start next summer. I suspect, given what we're seeing in the marketplace, we will have adequate applicants for those too. So that's kind of where we are. We wouldn't be where we are today without the support of the entire Benzie County community. And we're heavily reliant on volunteers. We're heavily reliant on our contractors that work for us. And we're all very thankful for that. And like I say, without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So I guess that's my short elevator speech about Benzie Habitat. And, I'm happy to take questions, comments, and respond to anything that people want to ask us about.
Don't have anything right this minute, Glenn. We'll probably have more questions at the end.
Sure.
Once everybody goes. Thank you so much for that. I know that we're so excited to add these homes to our community for our working families. Next up, we have a lady that wears many, many hats, so many hats. While formerly our Benzie County Treasurer, Shelley Thompson also is the chairwoman of the Benzie County Land Bank. Shelley will be sharing some of her programming as well as how state funding is being used to eliminate blight in the county. Welcome, Shelley.
Thank you. I created some bullet points to talk to you today about what the land bank is doing and who they really are, because I think people don't understand really what the land bank is. So the mission statement for the Benzie County Land Bank Authority is that they strive to promote countywide economic development through consistent and transparent collaboration with local organizations by acquiring, remediating, and disposing of properties posing as liabilities to the community. Acquisition can be in the form of tax foreclosure, mortgage foreclosure, donation, or purchase. So the land bank was created, the land bank authority, or the ability to be a land bank authority, was created in 2003 by statute to support the tax foreclosure process of the county treasurer. Benzie County created their land bank in 2009, but didn't really become active until 2012. And that's all acceptable. It's meant to be a tool that you can put on a shelf for when you do have a need, or it can be that tool that you get to use every year or every week or every month. So Benzie County has worked to lift up some of those properties that the market may not bear. The land bank typically chooses properties from the tax foreclosure list that are properties that the market wouldn't bear. An example would be the question mark building in the Village of Honor or Buds in Honor. Those two were both acquired by the Land Bank Authority through the tax foreclosure process. And it clearly, the market wasn't looking to help that situation for either of those properties. The good thing about that was all land bank authority owned properties are automatically brownfield redevelopment eligible. So that gives us, more funding, more tools to help our communities with these properties. So the other thing that you need to know is the land bank authority gets involved in the property business long before the project becomes a project or the development is even formulated. As Glenn was saying, we have provided some land bank properties to the Habitat for their building of affordable homes. And by giving them these parcels that they have value, but the cost to the county treasurer was less than market value. So I can pass that along to Habitat, and then that lessens the price to the homeowner ultimately. So that's been a very good partnership for us. And we actively seek tax foreclosed properties in Thompsonville specifically for that reason. But we've had a couple of other developers looking to get into Thompsonville, and one has been built in Thompsonville. So we're just trying to see how that, it not only improves Benzie County housing, but it also improves the village of Thompsonville in that they have more taxpayers able to pay for the water and, road management and all of the other things that villages do for their taxpayers. So that's kind of what the land bank was meant to be. Most recently, we are involved in a series of blight elimination grants that the state of Michigan has rolled out through the State Land Bank Authority. And they gave particular notice to rural communities who oftentimes can't compete in the competitive grant funding realm. And they carved out $200,000 per county or county land bank authority, if you have a land bank authority, to provide blight elimination funding. And so we applied for $120,000 worth of blight elimination funding, and we're granted that. And we're in the process of demolition on 2 parcels in the village of Thompsonville, which are under purchase agreement with the Habitat. Once we get that completed through the grant process, we will transfer those to the Habitat for their development. What else do I have going on?
But the Frankfurt project, the Lions property.
So that was the other project. We had 2 homes in Thompsonville that are being demolished here in the next couple of weeks. And the third one was the former Lions Club building at the corner of Lake and Main in the city of Frankfurt. And so we were able to pay for the demolition of that building and the phase 1, phase 2 testing for the land so that Homestretch can build is it 12 units of housing?
Oh, and it just jumps on. So
yeah. I
believe
called
that
for him.
unit, John, your property in Frankfurt is 12 units, correct? Oh, you can't hear me. I'm pretty sure it's 12.
I believe it is. I think it's 2 6-packs. So the next round of funding that we have access to is round 3. And that carves out up to $500,000 per land bank authority or county. However, there's been some that funding is federal dollars passing through the state. So there's more hoops to jump through in order to utilize those dollars. And Benzie County is one of 11 out of 83 counties that does not qualify for demolition in this round. It only qualifies for acquisition or remediation of existing properties to create low to mod housing at less than 80% AMI for sale and less than 60% AMI for rental. So that really is a tight, thin sliver for us to live in. But we're working at it. And we do have one project in the village of Benzonia that we are looking to remediate and improve that property for that purpose. It hasn't been decided yet whether that will be a purchase option or a rental option, but we're in the middle of that process right now, trying to determine all the numbers and make that work. So we've got a lot of things going on. I've always said that the Land Bank Authority has no staff. So we're improving Benzie County one parcel at a time because we really don't have capacity for much more than that. But a lot of it has to do with acquiring the land first. And so we are happy to help, and we are happy to improve our community however we can. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Shelley. We know that you're hard at work over there, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule today to join us with
Very welcome.
many hats. Shelley mentioned the question mark building, and we talked about that. So, John, are you with us? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. So, many of you have seen the new townhome development in honor that is on the former site of the question mark building at the corner of 31 and Henry Street across from Honor Bank. That's the first of many rental developments planned in the county. Next up, we're going to have John Stimson, the Director of Homestretch Housing, here to give an update on projects currently in Frankfort and Thompsonville and possibly some other ones. Welcome, John.
Great, thank you very much, Michelle. So sorry I'm late. I had a meeting in Leelanau County, and we talked about, excuse me, brownfield funds helping affordable housing and what they have for nonprofits. Specifically, these are small scale developments, scattered sites, and it's similar to what we're embarking upon with Michelle Thompson in Benzie County, where there are funds available. You know, I'm understanding that round 3 is going to allow us to potentially remodel or rehabilitate an existing house back from 2000. I think it was 5 or 6 that we developed, and it's been vacant ever since. It's a blight on the neighborhood. The neighbors have approached us several times about what can we do to get that house either torn down and rebuilt or do something with it. So I'm hopeful this program that Michelle's identified through her land bank / brownfield is going to give us the ability to do that. You know, what's the timing though? Is it going to be a year? Is it going to be 2 years? Hopefully we'll make some discoveries and get that underway maybe this spring, so that a year from now, or maybe a year and a half from now, not 2 or 3 years from now, we're actually having another house come on the market, either for rental or for sale. And I would caveat with the for sale idea that right now we're experiencing high interest rates. We're experiencing the inability for people that make 80% income or less to qualify for a purchase. So as I proposed in Leelanau County today, and I'll propose and has discussed with Michelle, is that why don't we then build these units or homes or whatever they are, duplexes, and rent them out with the intent that later on we could take a portion of that rental payment for a 5-year period and apply that towards a down payment or closing costs, and couple that with other grants to get people into home ownership. But even, you know, just coming up with a down payment and qualifying for a mortgage with the high interest rates that they are right now, it doesn't seem feasible. So I proposed to Mishta that we come up with a hybrid program where we know we're going to sell it, but they can't qualify now. Let's move them in, get them in the community to start, creating economic development, get those employees in those businesses that need them, and in a 5-year period, or maybe longer, but in a short amount of time, get them to have the ability to purchase down the road when potentially interest rates come down, right? What a concept. That's really, to me, helping people, and not then just saying only those that can qualify for financing and have the down payment and the ability to afford it will purchase or live in them right now. So I think that's something that Mishta said they'd be really willing to look at a hybrid program if we put it down in written form, and they'll strongly consider it. And I think that's really probably the best option in the homeownership world right now. Even in Leelanau County, we have a $150,000 condominium that's for sale, and it's difficult getting them to qualify, even at $150,000. So if we rehab for $250,000, or in the case of Leelanau County, we're looking at numbers with a modular at $300,000 for a 1,200 square foot modular on a lot that cost us maybe $4,000 from the land bank. I'm seeing a tough road ahead. So that's my pitch for today, is to try to get some kind of a program that gets people in renting, putting a portion of that rent towards a down payment for future ownership. And I'm not talking about a land contract. I'm talking about a straight rental with a deposit account, and maybe we could get matched funds. So if they put up $100 a month towards this subsidy, maybe we could get some other organization to match that. And then after the period of 5 years, they'll have a sum of money saved up. You wanted me to talk about a little bit, what's going on otherwise in Benzie County. The Honor Village Apartments on the question mark lot that we acquired from Michelle Thompson and her group, that has proven to be very successful, from 60% AMI down to 30% AMI. We're showing a lot of stability with those units. No unit turns in that category. What we have noticed, and this again speaks to the higher AMI units, our 80% units are turning over. We've had, since occupancy a year and a half ago, we've had them turn over twice. Couple of the reasons are, one person had to relocate out of the area because of a family matter. Another one, mother with 2 children, just financially couldn't keep up, and she ended up moving. So we had a little bit of a tough time getting people within Benzie County initially, but we have had some success just recently where 2 employees from Crystal Mountain, they're not a couple, they're not spouses or anything, but they're roommates. And we said, if you can both qualify, we'll get you in the unit. So that's what happened. We're finally seeing some movement in that 80% AMI bracket. And the other unit that's 80% AMI that turned over is just getting occupied today. And they are on the edge of Benzie County. So we're happy that we're actually getting residents in from Benzie. Last point that I'll make, and I don't know if I'm going over or not, but just wanted to touch base on the Frankfurt project, the Lake and Main Apartments is what we're calling it. You'll notice a sign went up. We have it on site right now that is creating housing for our Benzie County workforce. And it's a collaboration with the city of Frankfurt Housing Commission. And at the bottom of the banner, we list all of our participants. And of course, Benzie County was top. Fishbeck did a wonderful job with the environmental work. Sterling was our mass timber floor system manufacturer. Those are made in Illinois and shipped to the site. Those are ready for delivery. Grand Traverse Engineering participated and did a wonderful job on the site layout. We had below market rate financing come through for this project. And their name is there. It's IFF. They are really helping us like I've never seen, because we had about a $350,000 gap in our financing. And if I went out in the open market and I was looking at financing at 30 years for 7.5%, 8% financing, I still had that gap. IFF came along with an offer to give us below market financing, and it completely wiped out that $300,000 debt. It would have taken me probably another 4 to 6 months to come up with that grant amount. But by virtue of financing through a CDFI, we were able to get it funded, and we are in the ground, I'm happy to say, with foundation and is in, and we are backfilling and scrambling to get our concrete slabs poured in time before winter sets in, so we can do our framing throughout the winter. The participant for material is Insulspan. They're providing the stress skin panels for the exterior building envelope, and that's about an R26 airtight, super airtight envelope that I'm happy to say on our Sutton's Bay project and on the Honor Village Apartments project, which is the same design, we are heating and cooling load of about 8,000 to 9,000 BTUs. And frankly, there isn't a apparatus that goes that low in capacity. In other words, everything is rated for 12, 15, 20, 30, 40, 60,000 BTUs. We are using a low rated energy efficient furnace, but it's interesting because that furnace will hardly come on and off. It will cycle, it will save the tenants on their utility bills big time. And then you may say, well, what if they're too airtight and there's not, enough air? We're actually putting in an energy recovery ventilation system, so there will always be fresh air imported into that by virtue of the energy exchange. So hot air is going out, but warm air is coming back in because we're scrubbing that hot air onto the incoming cooler air, and vice versa in the summertime. Lastly, we had MISTA give us a missing middle grant on that. It was a no-brainer for them. They saw the participation from the local municipality, the Frankfurt Housing Commission, great team to help us put it together. Travers Architectural Group was another provider of the renditions and the drawings. And then NMCAA was another donor to the tune of about $50,000. So I'm comfortable with that. We're probably in 1 year's time from now going to start seeing occupancy. That's what our time frame is, and we've been successful with that in Sutton's Bay. And I think in 1 year's time, we'll probably start moving people in before Christmas.
That's awesome. John, are you comfortable speaking to the Thompsonville the project near the airport, or is that still a?
Well, yeah, no, we're still on track. It's really just a matter of the MDOT Aviation signing off on our plan, and they did initially sign off, and then they signed off on the wrong rendition of what we had for a site plan, and it's pretty much the same, but we have to get a final formal sign off from them before we can go back to the Planning Commission, which actually they've already made a recommendation for approval contingent upon that MDOT Aviation sign off. So we're really in the position to go forward with the village council or the village board. It's right around the corner, and if I could get that final approval, excuse me, by let's say January, then that would leave the month of February and March to get a potential pilot or tax abatement, and I'll be in the fundraising cycle right immediately after that. So probably it'll be next spring and summer doing fundraising, and maybe get in the ground before winter. So maybe October of 24 we'll potentially see some construction activity. There was talk about one of the local, I don't want to say their name, but they probably could assist us with the low-income housing tax credit. And so instead of doing 12 units in phases of 3, maybe we could do all 32 units at once. That's dependent upon a low-income housing tax credit, and I don't know if we can handle that many units, but I'm sure Benzie County would love to see 32 units as opposed to 12 in a development, but potentially that might happen. I'm not going to say that it will, but potentially.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, John. I know folks are excited about adding rental units to our area. Our last panelist, but certainly not the least, Frankfurt has been working diligently to bring attainable housing to fruition. Recent changes to zoning has added opportunities for homeowners and developers to be creative with adding capacity to new home construction. Another new home ownership model was added to the community in the form of a land trust. Annette Knowles is here, Executive Director of the Frankfurt Area Community Land Trust. She will be sharing about their success stories with 2 recently completed and occupied homes, as well as plans for the future. Welcome, Annette, and I will get your slideshow loaded momentarily.
Hello, everyone. There we go. Michelle, we can probably fast forward through that slide. So hello, everyone. Again, my name is Annette Knowles. I'm a relatively new executive director of the Frankfurt Area Community Land Trust. I can go into the land trust details a little bit more, but wanted to start out by just talking a little bit about what is the need. I'm not going to get too detailed about the market studies that have been done for the housing needs within Benzie County, but an organization called Housing North recently, when I say recently, I think it was within the last year, commissioned some reports from a company called Bowen. And the breadth and depth of the information about housing types that are needed in Benzie County and in Frankfurt specifically are very well documented. In Benzie County, over 200 homes in that missing middle category are needed based on this research. And of course, there are plenty of organizations, as we've already heard, organizations working toward increasing the capacity of housing. Frankfurt Housing Commission is working on the affordable rental component. Next slide, Michelle. And so a lot of folks, as I'm getting more acclimated to my new role, have been asking me, or just there's generalized information, not really a lot of awareness about what a community land trust is, because there are such a few representation in Michigan. But a CLT provides ownership access for working people who are priced out of the current housing market. The homes remain permanently attainable. The Land Trust is a nonprofit organization operated by a board, staff, and volunteers. There is a national organization called Grounded Solutions. Again, not wanting to spend too much time in the weeds or details, but if you're interested more about learning how a land trust works, that is the best source that I found to get that information. Next slide, Michelle. So let's move on to the Frankfurt Area Community Land Trust. We just raised our board membership to 9. It was 7 for quite some time, but we welcomed 2 new board members this last month. These are all really well engaged community members who want to help with the mission of creating more attainable housing for those who work or live in Benzie County. The land trust itself is relatively new. It was formed in 2021 and received a 501c3 nonprofit certification in 2022. So again, a relatively young organization that has really started to make an impact in the Frankfurt area. Whereas other organizations work on more diverse ranges of home, trying to create more homes, the Frankfurt Area Community Land Trust, or I'm just going to call it the Land Trust for the purposes of this presentation, are really focusing on 60 to 120% of the AMI for household income. And in order to qualify for home ownership of a land trust home, they must already live or work in Benzie County. Again, this is a home ownership model. The component that makes these units affordable or attainable for the workforce is that to make it really simplistic, the land trust acquires property, builds a home, and then sells the home, but not the land, to the homeowner. So that is how the land trust is able to make these homes affordable for its new residents. They have completed the first phase of a four home development on Grove Place, which is on this the city's east side. If you follow Main Street up on the south side of A&W back to where it ends and hang a right, there are the first 2 homes there with space available for the next 2. And I would also be remiss if I don't mention a partnership with the Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency, who helps to screen and educate our home buyers. It's an essential piece of the puzzle because the land trust wants to maintain the anonymity and also the not be privy to the financial information of the buyers. So we don't find out about who our buyers are until the end of the process, where they have already completed their screening and their home buyer education. Next slide, Michelle. So really the focus of today's presentation is to talk more about the Grove Place homes. Again, 2 homes were constructed and sold in 2023. 2 adjacent homes are on target for 2024 completion. It looks like we're likely to start construction on those homes once the weather breaks in the spring. The financing for the homes is really I want to call it a hodgepodge mess, but it's quite complicated, where there is public money that has been involved. The public contributors thus far have been Benzie County, the city of Frankfort, and then MSHDA through the Missing Middle program. Although we experienced some issues with Missing Middle, those seem to have been worked out, and the bulk of those funds will be used on phase 2 of the construction. There were construction financing loans available through a unique certificate of deposit program that was available through State Savings Bank and Honor Bank, where interested persons within the community put loans on deposit, which was then used as collateral for construction loans for the land trust to be able to finance construction. At the time the homes were sold, those lines of credit were paid off, and CD program now is closed, but we anticipate offering that again in the spring for the construction of phase 2 of the next 2 homes. And then many community donations of all sizes, $5,000 to $50. It doesn't matter. Everything is very valuable to the land trust to be able to construct the homes. And we're going to get into a little bit more slideshow or in the slideshow with what the homes actually look like. But the model thus far has been just slightly under 1,200 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath on city and water because they're within the Frankfort city limits. Some of the tenets of the land trust has been to try to make these as low maintenance for the homeowner as possible, but still have a high quality construction. So we have very stylish detailing, mission style. They look very cottage-like and are very efficient. For the phase 1 homes, they were appraised at $274,000. But the land trust sells them for 75% of appraised value. So the 2 homes that have been sold for $205,500. That does not necessarily mean that the next 2 phase homes will sell at the same price. Hopefully it will be close, but it's going to be linked to that very important appraisal number. Next slide, Michelle. Okay, so there is some music. Michelle, I may ask you to pause the video once we get to a certain spot. If you could pause it here. You'll notice that there's the first 2 homes. I wanted to talk a little bit about the construction of the 2 homes before we get into the interior shots, which are very, very cool. But these homes were actually framed by a company called Weaver Barnes. So they were somewhat prefabricated in that they came as panels that were constructed. I do have like a really quick fast forwarded through 30 days of of construction, but I swapped it out with the final photographs of the homes once they were completed. But it's a pretty interesting process how the homes are constructed and framed first. And then we had one of the board members, Jay White, who is also the president, kind of acted as really what I'll call a construction manager to make sure that the homes were constructed as efficiently and cost effectively as possible. And so he worked with a lot of the independent local contractors, drywallers, painters, electricians, et cetera, to coordinate that work and to make sure that everything was done to spec during the course of the time that these homes were built. But this is what they look like from the exterior. And Michelle, you can start that process again. It runs about 2 minutes. These are basically just interior shots of all yeah, I think you have to let it go from the very beginning. So
maybe go all the way back.
no, that should be fine. The photograph should start pretty soon here. There we go. So this is the living space. This would be the front room. You'll notice that the floors are all consistent throughout. This would be the master bedroom of the home with closet space, his and her closets. This is the master bath, full shower, full toilet, vanity. These are the second and third bedrooms. Again, all of the interior finishes are very similar. Actually, the two homes, the interiors of both the homes are the same color schemes. It came with a full suite of appliances, thanks to donors, washer, dryer. This is the exterior of the shot. Michelle, if you can pause that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, don't pause it now that I'm thinking about it, because you end up starting the whole thing from scratch. We don't want to do that. But the space available on the backside, these homes do not come with garages. The homeowner has the ability to and space to build their own garage if they so choose. But it is not part of the initial construction that the land trust is doing. Michelle, next slide, please. Before I get into how you can help us out, I did want to make mention about one of the questions that I hear about is what is available to the homeowner at the time that they would like to sell. I haven't really talked about the sale process at this point, but did want to make mention that these homes have been sold to candidates who were pre-vetted by the NMCAA. One of the things about making the homes perpetually attainable is that they can only be sold to other homeowners who meet those income qualifications that are, again, going to be vetted by the NMCAA. At the time of sale, there will be an appraisal done. The home must be, again, sold for 75% of that appraised value. And the homeowner who is selling has to share a portion of the sale over under to the land trust, but is also able to secure and retain the value of the improvements that they install. So if they were to install a garage on that site, they would realize the profit from that increased amenity. So the land trust, how to help, again, we're still somewhat of a fledgling organization, growing organization, but still, as all the other organizations that we're speaking today, are relying on help from either grants or the community. And without support of the community, whether it be people who are willing to help, people who want to serve, or people who want to donate, the work of the land trust would not be possible. I put a couple links down here for cash donations and volunteers. I'm going to shamelessly promote next Tuesday, which is Giving Tuesday. So if there's any giving spirit in your heart, please feel welcome to contribute to the Land Trust. And there's more information available at frankfurtlandtrust.org, which is the website. And there are more links and more resources available to help educate the community about what is a land trust. So thank you very much for your time, and thanks for the invitation, Michelle.
Thank you. Annette alluded to a report that was done by Housing North. That website is housingnorth.org. You can look for a housing needs assessment. Now they have a 10-county region. So if you want to read this, it reads like the health plan. It's 700 pages. I encourage you to just pick out the Benzie section. And it's very robust. This data was culminated by Bowen National Research. It takes in some workforce reporting from Networks Northwest. It takes in census data and projections to what our population is going to look like in 2027. And according to this report, Benzie County has a rental gap of 214 units. John's working to close that gap. And then our for sale units, according to this report, is 1,294 units, but with Glenn and Annette already sold some. I think we knocked that number down already.
Chip away.
Yeah, we're chipping it away, as Shelley says, one parcel at a time. So I encourage each and every one of you to get on Housing North's website and take a look at that, because it is really incredible. It goes down to AMI, it goes down to what the career is for the person that's buying the home and who's buying the homes, and it's very incredible data. I will open it up at this time. We have some great speakers today. If anybody in our attendees, I can elevate you to speak if you want to raise your hand, or if you are too shy, you can throw a question in the chat. I have put all of these folks' websites in the chat as well. If you want to hop on there, learn more about their organizations. Giving Tuesday is Tuesday if you need to make that end of the year contribution for your tax reasons. I'm sure each and every one of them will accept your money. So anybody at all. We got a crowd. Either they're asleep or they're quiet. In our panelists, do we have anything that we want to talk about just as a collective?
Not necessarily, Michelle, but I did want to make mention that Bowen report also included a separate report for the city of Frankfurt. The land trust itself isn't landlocked into only working in the city of Frankfurt, so the information is relevant for all of Benzie County to the land trust, but there's some really interesting data that revolves around just the city and the need within the city. I think that because there are a number of large employers within the Frankfurt area, whether that be the hospital, Graceland Fruit, some of the more resort type of activities that are closer into Frankfurt, that those numbers are really eye-opening when it comes to the need. And when you pare it down, or get it down to the basics, and you're thinking, oh, we only need 200 units, or however many it is per each individual section, and you look at the land that's available and the housing types that are available, it's not just a matter of, well, we just need to buy more land and build more homes. I think that in many respects, a lot of the communities will have to think creatively about how their spaces are used. And there's so much more depth to the conversation than I think what we're allowed in this time, meaning that, you have to look for adaptively reusing buildings. You need to look for infill potential, and then also looking at some of the obsolescent uses that are present within the community, and thinking what could be here. I think that, using my prior career, I was in downtown revitalization. And so one of the things that we talked a lot about was making the downtowns within the area, or the area where we worked, more affordable and attainable, not just for the people who are visiting, but the people who are working, to support those businesses. And sometimes it's a hard sell, because you've got community members who are, interested in, we only want, 6-figure income wage earners. And I'm not suggesting that's how it is up here. I'm just drawing on prior experience, because it would, how is this going to impact the demographics for our community? And sometimes we have to turn those conversations around a little bit and say, we want communities to be places where people who live in a community or work in a community can also live in that community. There are many different facets of that as well. Some of the things I know that Frankfurt and Alberta have been working on include, maximizing the amount of short-term rentals that can be introduced in a community, or they're talking about zoning and allowing other types of housing units. So although there's really great organizations working on really great projects, it can actually get down to the individual. And one person can make a difference in solving the housing problems within Benzie County.
John, did you have something before not started?
No, but I just wanted to comment that I was intrigued that you guys pre-qualify your home buyer before you even start construction, or how is that? Had construction started and then you identified your homeowner? How'd that work?
Yeah, so currently the homes are built on spec. We know that there are homeowners within the pipeline that are working with an MCAA already, and they're going through the process. Some of them have, credit to clean up before they're able to secure financing for their homes, et cetera. And that's why they work through an MCAA. I will say that this is one of the areas that we're going to continue working on a process, because the way that an MCAA engaged with the land trust was what I'll call somewhat of a pilot project, meaning that I don't know if the way that they have, or the way that they work with other communities has, or other organizations has been to the extent that they have been working, the same methodology and the same procedures as they are with the land trust. But again, members of the land trust, and keep in mind, up until very recently, I started there in June. It's primarily been a volunteer-based board. They really are very cautious about not wanting to know too much financial detail about the folks who are purchasing, and wanted to make sure that they are keeping that separate. We knowing the process, we found out approximately 60 days or so, don't quote me on that number, but about 60 days before the houses were ready to be sold, who those buyers would be. So it's not that they necessarily, we don't know if there are interested home buyers or not. We just, their names are not elevated to us until they've reached a certain threshold within the process of the home buyer education process. And so NMCAA does have the credentials to work with, the different housing programs, whether that be HUD or other organizations. And so it kind of worked out really well to have that phase. So when the home buyer's ready, that's when we find out about it. Ideally, we'll have 2 houses available next year, hopefully at this time, or maybe they'll be occupied at this time. But when that point is ready, hopefully there will be a pool of candidates whose names can be forwarded to us. It just so happened that this year for 2 homes, there were 2 sets of qualified buyers. And so now within Frankfurt, we have a local librarian, a local restaurant worker, a graphic design professional, and a grocery store grocery store management who are occupying those homes. And so that's the great thing. The challenge will just be is supply and demand, right? I mean, if the land trust were to suddenly receive a large influx of money that it makes available to be able to do more projects, we'll just make sure that we temper the number of applicants that NMCAA is able to accept into the program, because we don't want the opposite of that to be true, which means that we don't want more homes available than there are applicants, but we don't want 50 to, a pool of 50 applicants when we only have, 2 homes a year that we're working with. So that'll be some of those things that we will have to, gauge the pulse point from time to time and make sure that what is going to be available, there are adequate applicants for, and vice versa.
Well, I appreciate that. I just, it's NMCAA pre-qualifying and getting applicants ready. What are the chances are that you don't have somebody that's from Frankfurt and you're wanting to cater to somebody in Benzie County or Frankfurt, and we've used their lists of potential applicants in the past, and well, we've got one available in Leon County. Well, they work in Traverse City, or I would love to see a preference for Benzie County and Frankfurt, but it sounds like through the process you were able to get people housed that work in Frankfurt already. Yeah. So that's just the caveat that I would say is we give preference to whoever works in Benzie County and or the local village, the city, wherever within Benzie County. So we're catering to and helping the community locally, not from the whole region. Is my point.
Yes,
so
very
it looks
true.
Like it worked out.
Right.
Yeah, our applicants must be residents or workers in Benzie County. So it just so happened that we were lucky enough this time that actually I think one of the homeowner partners relocated from I can't remember where they were living, but the primary applicant must already live or work in the community. And it just so happens that one of the homeowners ended up securing employment in Benzie County right at the same time that they were buying. So, the stars aligned, right? It was a great thing, but we do try to work within the existing community first. So work in Benzie County or live in Benzie County.
Glenn, did you want to talk about your vetting process and how you get your residents?
We're very similar, a little bit different. We handle this internally. We are working with USDA's RD program now, their 502 loan program. We've been working with that program for since about 2018 or 19. Don't quote me on the exact date. Their program currently is offering about between 30 and 35 year notes at 4.25%. And the people that just, like I said, it closed in June I think we're at 4.25%. They may have bumped up to 4.5%. I heard something about that recently, but it's still a fairly competitive mortgage note. To Annette's point, we're like you guys are. We cater specifically to Benzie County residents. It's not untypical to see our ratios in terms of applicants to qualified homeowners that make it through something like 1 in 6. And inevitably it's credit, that is the problem. And we do work closely with the folks at RD, in terms of screening people and getting them qualified. But a lot of people come in thinking, that they can do this, but inevitably, and I know John sees the same thing. They come in and there's poor credit problems. There's car loans. There's whatever it is that just creates havoc for these people. And we do work with them. We will, work with them to say, hey, here's the things you got to clean up, and talk to us in 6 months. And RD does the same thing. RDs, we found them very good to work with, in terms of trying to put their money out to, and make it work for the county and the region.
We have a question from one of our attendees. They're wondering, is there a program that helps people that want to move into the community, but finding affordable, attainable housing is holding them back? If anybody wants to speak to that.
That's a tough one, I think. The housing stock, and I think, if you can go back to the report that we all mentioned, it's the rental stock is almost non-existent, it seems.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what you do about that other than to keep trying. As rental housing pops up, it seems to go very quickly. We
Yeah, I
don't
think
have anything available.
the,
Certainly.
the affordable rental housing stock is what we're really lacking. I mean, I know
Yeah.
there's new developments that $1,600 for a 2-bedroom,
Right.
and I talk to a lot of people and they say, well, that's really what it is. But when we speak in terms of, we're at 800 to 1,000 for a 2-bedroom, that's a big difference. I think that's kind of why we're here. Whatever the question was regarding coming into the area, if you have employment pegged for, say, the city of Frankfurt or Crystal Mountain or the Village of Honor, you have a position in the fire department or somebody you're trying to move in, we give that applicant preference because you're going to work in that area. I just can't build enough units to advertise enough to get those units built and get them occupied. We're trying to take care of the people that are there right now. So maybe 32 units at Crystal Mountain is the way to go. And I fear that there will be a lot of commuters, but so be it. We're housing people. That's the plan.
Yeah, I think that, kind of looking at that question a little bit, I'm brainstorming at the same time. I have not encountered more than what I'll call informal housing. There's a housing collaborative where, housing related groups meet to talk about what they're doing and to talk about issues. But to my knowledge, and, keep in mind, I'm still very recent and somewhat newer to the area as well. I'm not really sure, as in other communities, there is like a one central go-to information gathering place where postings are available for housing or assistance, people to help people find housing assistance. I just don't think exists within Benzie County that I'm aware of. So maybe that's something that some of our housing collaborative can talk about, is just to maybe find a place where somebody could house that. Again, just trying to brainstorm an answer to the question to make it easier for people to look for a central gathering place, a central location, information location or hub where, work, news about the developments or information about vacancies of all sorts could be placed. But, again, that requires a body to do that. And all of us have our own, our own organizations that we're working to try to support, and our own efforts that we're trying to support. So maybe it's just a need out there that somebody could fill, but we definitely need to have some discussion about where the best place is to fill that.
I know we keep alluding to that Housing North report. So for our attendees, I did just put all the links to that in the chat so that you're not, scrambling, trying to figure out what the heck we're all talking about. I field so many calls here at the chamber, and I myself was a transplant 11 years ago, and it boiled down to my employer that wanted to relocate me here had to step up and find me someplace to live. I moved in May, which we all know is a horrible time to move here, with a lot of the longer term housing getting flipped to summer rentals. But that's what it came down to, is it was a burden for my employer that he wanted me here so badly that he found me a place to live. He had to buy it and I had to run it to own. But you know, not every small business can do that. And you know, I give him so much praise for bringing me to this community, but no one recognizes that struggle more than me, because I've been through that process, and I was very fortunate to have a wonderful employer that did that for me. Do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I think we'll adjourn early. And for everybody in attendance, tell your friends. I see I'm missing some names that did register for this event. I'm going to record this and I'll put it up on our housing advocacy page on the Chamber's website for future viewing if you want to go back. So I want to thank everyone today: Shelley Thompson, Annette Knowles, Glenn Tracy, John Stimson, for all of their input and their hard work that they're doing to make a difference in the housing community here in Benzie County. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Michelle.
Yep. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye.